So Macs always get a lot of negativity when it comes to gaming. People don't consider them gaming computers, but here's the hard facts. This new iMac 2020 is super capable to game. Like inside of here, you have a 9th gen Intel processor, which is the fastest processor for gaming. And when you pair that with AMD's 5700 XT, which in comparison to an NVIDIA GPU is about the same performance as a RTX 2070 Super, you get some fantastic gameplay. You can also hook up a high refresh display. For example, I hooked up a 1080p 144Hz monitor to this and gamed on it comfortably. Now, if you want to hook up an external display with a high refresh rate, you need two things. The first thing is you need a USB Type-C to DisplayPort cable. Just make sure it's DP 1.4, and you need to download software to disable the iMac display, because if you just use it as an external display, it's going to be locked at 60 Hertz. The software I used is a program called Switch Res X. It costs about $20 Canadian, and what it essentially does is disables the iMac display so you can take advantage of the high refresh rate display. Now, if you want to game on this, gaming at 1080p and 1440p at high settings is totally doable. I tested 7 games. And the first one I tested was Metro Exodus. I was able to get 71 frames per second using their gaming benchmark tool. This is a very demanding tool, and a lot of gaming laptops with an RTX 2060 or even 6060 Ti can barely push 50 frames per second. The second game I tested was GTA, high settings, full HD, and I was able to average 141 frames per second. That's really good. And this is all done using Windows Boot Camp, because obviously some of these games are not available for Mac OS, so you have to install Boot Camp to utilize some of these games. The good thing though is Apple makes it super easy, as the Boot Camp utility is in your utilities folder. You just click on it, follow the instructions, and you can install Windows 10 to play these awesome games. The next game I tested was Fall Guys, and this was obviously going to run perfectly on this. Like, this game is not really demanding at all, and I was able to get 60 frames per second. What Fall Guys does is it locks the frames per second to the refresh display of your monitor. So if you're using a 144 Hertz monitor, it's gonna lock the frames to 144 frames per second. The next game I tested was Overwatch on high settings, and I was able to get almost 200 frames per second. That's really good. Don't get me wrong, Overwatch is not really a demanding title, but still, 200 frames per second is much higher than my 144 Hertz refresh display, so gameplay is nice and fluid. The next game was Modern Warfare, and yes, it works perfectly on the iMac 2020. I was able to get 170 frames per second with settings set to high. This is Modern Warfare, not Modern Warzone. If it was Warzone, I'd expect frame rates to drop to about 130 frames per second. Now, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, on the other hand, using Mac OS, I was able to obtain 93 frames per second, which is really good. You get about the same if you do it on Windows, but because it's a native to Mac OS, you can use it on Mac OS. I wanted to test using the operating system. And finally, for all you Fortnite fans out there, I was getting 150 frames per second using Fortnite under Mac OS. Now, Fortnite is obviously better optimized for Windows. So if you want to play it in Windows, you'll get better frame rates there, but you can play it natively in Mac OS without any issues. Now, for those of you interested in QHD gaming, it also got really good frame rates. Some games, you have to drop the settings a bit, like Metro Exodus. I was only able to obtain 52 frames per second, but basically every other game I tested at QHD, it had zero issues hitting 60 frames per second or higher. So that's impressive results. This 5700 XT is a beefy card, and the fact that you can hook up a high refresh display to this makes this a very capable gaming machine. I like it. You know, this is one of the last Intel iMacs you're going to see, which means it's probably going to be one of the last beefy gaming computers that you can buy from Apple. Now, is this going to be a better option than like a customized desktop PC with the most upgradable GPU? Probably not. But if you love Apple computers like I do, and you want to game on them as well, this is more than capable. Now, if you have any more questions about the iMac 2020, or if you haven't seen my review, I will drop that in the description down below. But as always, if you liked the video, feel free to hit the like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.